about you guys, but before I got into this whole wine world, whenever I would go into a wine shop to buy a bottle of wine, more likely than not, I would pick the wine actually based on the design of the label, because I just didn't know how to read a label. And yeah, maybe if it was an Australian wine bottle, then I would have more of an insight. But especially if it was a foreign wine, like a French wine, Spanish, or an Italian wine, I really had no idea what I was purchasing. And it's even worse when you go traveling. Say you travel to Italy and you come here and you go to pick a wine, then if you're picking off the label, then that's a huge mistake here in Italy, because between you and I, the labels, majority of the time, don't reflect what's in the wine at all. Sometimes you will find a really beautiful label and the wine tastes like shit, and sometimes you'll find some of the best wines I've ever tried here have labels that are just so outdated and really in need of an upgrade. But despite the way that Italian wine labels look, if you figure out the code of how to read a wine label, then you're gonna have so much more ease when you come to Italy or when you're just drinking Italian wine from your local wine shop. So that is what I'm gonna break down in this video. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chloe. I am an Italian wine passionate, and I love to share that passion with you guys, because I believe that the more you understand a wine, the more you can enjoy it, and that's what life is about. Plus, you can impress your friends and feel confident in your local wine shop. So in this video, there are going to be 6 different steps to decoding a Italian wine label, and I'm going to use this fabulous dolcetto, which is unfortunately empty, but I think it's going to do the job. First step is actually identifying what type of wine it is. Now, the type of wine can be decoded in 3 different ways. Yes, Italians like to keep things complicated. So you'll either find the grape variety, you'll find the region, or you'll just find the name of the wine, which is just like a brand invented name. So this one is Dogliani, and that is actually an Italian region. Now, if you don't know the regions too well, I'm going to teach you another hack on tip number 7, which is going to help you understand that even better. Otherwise, you might find the grape variety, Grillo, which is nice and easy. That's usually how things are done over in Australia and in the New World wine countries. And the third way will just be a brand name, which I don't have an example of those in my house. And if it is just a brand name, then it's more likely than not that the wine is going to be of a lesser quality. Now, don't quote me on that. Things change in wine all the time. That is just a generalization and a guide to go by. So look for the grape name or the region name, and chances are you're going to have a higher quality wine. So number 2 to decoding an Italian wine is the region, which we've already covered in this wine. Specifically, we have the region labeled here. Now, sometimes you'll find the region and also a sub-region underneath. So a sub-region is kind of like what you can imagine like a cru to be in Burgundy, or if you don't know what that is, it's just basically like a parcel of land within the region. So yeah, region, sub-region. Now, the third step to decoding the wine is looking at the quality levels. The next is the IGT classification, which sits just above Vino da Tavola, and that means that the grapes aren't from a specific designated region. So you'll see DOC and DOCG. Oops, can't get it in the screen. Are the 2 higher levels, but the IGT basically means that it sits in between. So the grapes could come from anywhere within the region. Then we in fact have DOC and DOCG. Now, DOCG is technically the most regulated and the highest classification, and DOC is one just under that. But I want you guys to remember that's just the way that Italy classifies its wine, and you can certainly find some really, really high quality wines that are IGT. It's just that they don't fit into like the regulation system. But if you do want to be safe and you want to make sure that you're getting the best Italian wine for your friends at a dinner party, and you're not too sure which IGT wines are good quality or bad quality, then look for this label, the DOCG, and you'll be good to go. Alright, so tip number 4 to decoding a wine label is the producer. So the producer in this case is Duca di Paruta, which is a very famous winery in Sicily, one of the very first. And on this one, for example, it is up the top. Mariziano Abona. By the way, I have put links to these wines in the description below if you wanted to purchase them or check them out. But the producer, I mean, it's nothing really, you know, it's just telling you who produced the wine, and the more you try Italian wines, the better you'll get to know different producers and the better you'll be able to understand their styles and if you like their wine or not. So just make sure to check out who the producer is and take a little mental note. Number 5 is the importer or the production city. Now remember how I said earlier that it can be confusing sometimes understanding where the regions are in Italy? Well, that is where you have to look at the back of the bottle. Now, not always, but sometimes you will see the importer details, and if there's the importer website, then you can go onto the importer's website and you can find out more about the wines themselves. Otherwise, you'll find the location in where the wine was produced. So for example, on the back here it says bottled and imbottigliato, which means bottled by Duca di Sala Paruta, right here, which doesn't really tell us any more information, but you will see next to it underneath it says Marsala and then Italia. So you might know where Marsala is, which is a region in Sicily, which will help you understand the wines a little bit more. And on this one, it again just tells us Dogliani. It doesn't really tell us too much on these two wines, but sometimes looking at the back of the label will give you a bit more of indication about what region in Italy the wine comes from. Tip number 6 to decoding an Italian wine label is in fact the vintage. So obviously this is the same on every single wine bottle from around the world, but sometimes people get confused about what this actually means, and this means it's the year that the wine was not bottled but it was produced. So if this is a barrel wine, maybe it was aged in oak for 2 years. We don't know that. It just tells us that this is the year that the wine was actually produced. So yeah, kind of understanding how long it was in oak or in barrel is another topic for another day. And tip number 7 for decoding an Italian wine label is something quite simple, but it's often really overlooked, and that is actually the serving temperature, which should be on the description on the back. This isn't on all wine labels, but it's something to keep in mind because often I find a lot of people are serving wines, especially white wines, a little bit too cold and red wines a little bit too hot. So having a look at the serving temperature is going to help you enjoy the wine better because you're going to have it at a better temperature. You're going to be able to find the aromas a little bit better. So just something to keep in mind. There you have it, guys. I hope the next time you go out and pick an Italian wine, you are more confident and you know how to decode those labels a little bit more. Make sure to give it a practice, give this video a save, comment below and let me know if you learned anything today, and if you do like learning about and drinking Italian wine, then make sure to subscribe. So ciao for now and salud! Pick a wine, then if you're picking off the label, you're making a tea wines are good quality or bad quality, then look for this label, the DOCG. You're going to have it at a better temperature, you're going to be able to try the aromas a little bit, find the aromas a little bit better.